If you're seeing a drop in your performance with your Google Ads account, what I want to do in this video is go over how we isolate where the damage might be done and then what you can do to actually fix that to get your performance back up. So at the end of the day, we want to make sure if there are ever any dips in your account, get them up right away. That way you don't lose money for your business. So going right in, this is going to be the variables around what could be causing some kind of drop of actual revenue or success in the Google Ads account. The top are going to be the targeting you're using, the ads around the targeting that you're showing for that targeting, the campaign structure and type, and then the last two is going to be off-platform assets and honorable mentions. These are going to be the different variables we're going to be looking at to see what could be causing that drop-off in results. And once we find that variable, then there's a couple of things that we can do to attack the bottleneck and get to a solution without it being a mystery. And then you have that plateau of poor results. So jumping right in, the first is going to be targeting. There's a couple of things we want to look at. Number one is going to be the actual traffic quality. There's a few ways to diagnose this. One thing to be have a point on is going to be the difference between the keywords you're targeting and also the search terms that come to the account. The keywords are going to be the actual keywords that you tell Google you want to show for, and then search terms are what people actually type into Google for your ads to show for. So the way you look at traffic quality is going to your search term report, and within there you can see the exact terms that people search to show you your ads for. And if you have really poor term quality, you have, let's say, half the terms you're showing for, people searching for are not what you want to show for, it's really just burning money. And then there's a couple things you can do about that, which we'll talk about. But that's what you're going to want to do first. If all of the search terms are looking pretty strong or 90%, you're never going to have 100% cleanness on the search term report, but you do want the high majority to be really good quality traffic. So that's what you're going to want to look at first. Next is going to be the actual traffic intention. So once you find, okay, these are all relative search terms to what I'm trying to target, is the intention behind them? There's a difference between, low intention, high intention. Low intention could be somebody, like, let's say you're going after medicine. It could be somebody searching, how do I treat my headache or whatever it is. And that's going to be something more broad, might not have the highest conversion intention compared to somebody who might be searching, ibuprofen, 200 milligrams. They know exactly what the medicines they want. They know what they need to buy it. They're just trying to find the store or a business to buy it from. So you want to make sure that the intention's there because that will heavily influence, whether or not the actual traffic's converting or not on the site. So that's step two. Once you check the search terms, if you do see really poor search term quality over the majority of terms that are coming in, that's when you can start adding negative keywords. So negative keywords are going to be terms you tell Google you don't want to show for. So if you're seeing certain terms that you're getting on average that might not be the best quality for what you want to bid for, you can add those terms as actual negative keywords. Now, just a reminder, negative keywords can be added in three ways. It's going to be broad match, phrase match, exact match. We talk about what each of those mean in different videos, but it's going to really determine on the same way what you're targeting for, what is the looseness or tightness of the negative keyword you want to tell Google specifically what not to show for. So that is a way that you can really tighten up the quality of your traffic. And then also it's going to be on actual keyword targeting side. So next is going to be ads. So within the ads, there's two things. There's going to be the copy relevance. And then the last thing is going to be really just updating your ad copy if you have any poor copy or something that's not as up to date with your store. But when it comes to copy relevance, you want to make sure that all the copy in your actual ads is relevant to the keywords that you're targeting for that ad group. We talk about how we segment, different targeting within different ad groups. And when it comes to an ad group, once again, that's going to house the keywords you're targeting. It's also going to house the ads that you're showing for that targeting. So you want to make sure there's high relevancy there. If there's not, you're going to see a drop off of results. So you want to really make sure to chop up and segment your ad groups based off of the targeting groupings and making sure everything's really, really relevant to the actual ads you're serving. That'll cause a drop off as well. If there is any outdated ad copy, some people forget what they wrote back in the past. We've had clients that have, they think they're doing well in the ad copy world, but we find copy that's in the headlines and descriptions that might be years ago, even old promotions. So what I really recommend doing is doing an ad copy audit every once in a while. If you do have old ad copy and descriptions or titles, even whether it's search, PMAX, display, whatever it is, swap in new ones, split test always. Make sure you're constantly updating, especially for different promotions and things of that nature. But it's always worth looking at. Sometimes the simple things might be what's causing the issue. Next is going to be campaign structure type. So there's a couple different things that we're looking at here, and there's different reactions we want for each different campaign type. So when it comes to search, PMAX, and YouTube, they all operate in different ways. Search, you're going to have less influence on the algorithm side because it's much more specific on the targeting. So when we're looking at search, we want to look at what are we targeting? Do we have poor keywords we're targeting, things that aren't converting? Is there a drop off at any point? the areas we're looking for are much more black and white compared to PMAX and YouTube. I'll talk about in a second. But when it comes to search, you're really looking at the obvious variables, the search terms you're targeting, the search terms you're showing for, and then what ads and assets are running along with those. So it makes it much easier to diagnose where the issue is. If your search terms are great, you have the best quality, you're getting good cost per click for the terms, the ads are really relevant, you're chopped up for segmentation, like I talked about, then it might be just very clear that the assets you're running or the branding behind the assets are just not doing the job on the conversion rate side. If Facebook's converting amazingly and you're using the same assets, it's probably going to be a problem on the keyword side or on the ad copy side or how it's segmented. So it really allows you to isolate those variables and then figure out where the issue is to solve from there. PMAX and YouTube are a little bit different. Those can be much more volatile when it comes to what's causing them to have a lack of success. Sometimes it can be scaling too aggressively. Sometimes it could be a change in the market. They're much more influenced by the changes you make, especially on the budget side, because what happens with Google is if you give these algorithm-based campaigns too much money, they'll start going haywire. They'll reach for different types of traffic. It'll really try to spend your budget no matter what. And if it overreaches on the traffic it know can convert, then you're just wasting money and you want to do a pullback. So when it comes to search, it's more going to be on the asset side of how it's built. When it comes to PMAX or YouTube, if they're running properly in the past, it's probably going to be based off a change you made. And that's where you can go into the change log and figure out what might have caused that change and the drop off. We'll talk about that in a second too. Next is going to be off-platform assets. So sometimes you might change the landing page or the product page and think it's going to enhance the experience of somebody who's coming off of the ad platform. Sometimes things that you think make sense don't actually help the ads. So I'd be very sensitive that it's not always, I know best. It's what the data is showing you. And if there is a change you made on the platform side, on the actual assets, then it might be worth reverting if you actually see an adverse effect into the platform ad side. So really worth considering and basing off the data, not how you feel about how well they're going to do. And then the last couple things on this slide is going to be working on CRO and then product branding. This is on the assumption that search terms are amazing, you have great traffic quality, the costs and the KPIs on the front end are doing really well. That's when you look on the actual product side or on the branding around the product and figure out what do we have to do to convert this type of traffic, which is ideal. Because at the end of the day, if the traffic's right and it's high intent, it's quality, you're getting a high percentage of quality on the search term report, then it's just a matter of figuring out how to convert that. And you can just focus on the actual, CRO of the page, which could be adding certain factors that enhance the experience of people who are coming to it, or it could be different promotions, a lot of things you can test. We have different videos on how to increase CRO. But the biggest thing is if you can isolate that as a problem, then you can work on it. Last thing is going to be honorable mentions. I mentioned this briefly on the other slide. The pace of scale. If you give Google money too quickly or try to scale too quickly, it'll have an adverse reaction to the actual campaigns. You kind of think of it on a scale like this. If you have budget here and ROI here, anytime you raise the budget, it's going to drop the ROI. Anytime you diminish the budget, it's going to raise the ROI. So you want to be hypersensitive how much money you give it. We'll generally do increases on 10 to 50% increments of what the budget is every 3 to 4 days. Because what will happen is, like I said, if you give the campaign budget too quickly and you're really close to where you need to be ROI wise, it's going to cause the campaign to go haywire. Your ROI is going to drop. It's going to go after nonsense traffic just to spend your money. Much, much better to scale carefully and get it up in increments. That way, once you get to those new benchmarks of budget, it's going to be very smooth and you're not going to have to do any of those pullbacks. And then the data and change log, one thing you can always do is if you see a drop off in results, you can always go to your change log and see during that exact same time frame, is there anything that caused that to happen? And if there were changes that line up exactly with the drop of results, then you've pretty much easily figured out that's what caused the results to drop. And then you can either revert it or make changes to go against it. So that's a good way of going about it. It's not always that obvious, but we usually will check this first to see if there's an easy answer there. And then if it's not, then we'll go through the troubleshooting process that I explained in this video. So that's the end of this one. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. Otherwise, appreciate you watching. Looking forward to the next video.